You don't scare Mamie. This ends now!
That was why the research outpost kept its perimeter scanners active 24 hours a day. The surrounding jungle was home to the Virexian hunters, one of the most dangerous apex predator species cataloged by the Coalition. Their intelligence rivaled that of some spacefaring civilizations, but their instincts were still deeply territorial, and their cubs were known to be aggressive. Most scientists avoided the forest entirely, except Dr. Lena Carter. Lena was human, which already made her unusual to the alien staff of Outpost Meridian. Humans had joined the Galactic Coalition only a few decades earlier, and many species still struggled to understand them. Humans were smaller than most predator species, physically weaker than many, but they had one strange habit that made other species uncomfortable. They didn't always react to danger the way logic suggested they should. That morning, Lena stepped through the jungle with a scanner in one hand and a datapad clipped to her belt. Sunlight filtered through massive alien leaves overhead, painting shifting patterns across the forest floor. Her mission was simple: track the migration patterns of the Virexian packs, but as she moved through the brush, a strange feeling crept into her mind. The forest had gone quiet. Too quiet. No insects, no small creatures. Just wind rustling through the tall grass. Lena slowed her pace. "Okay," she murmured. "That's never a good sign." She crouched and checked her scanner. 3 life signs. Close, very close. The bushes behind her rustled. Then another sound followed. A low growl. Lena turned slowly. 3 shapes stepped out of the tall grass. They were smaller than adult Virexians, but still intimidating. Each creature stood nearly shoulder-high to Lena, covered in dark scaled armor with sharp claws and powerful jaws. Their glowing eyes locked onto her. Virexian cubs. Teenagers, by the look of them. Old enough to hunt. Old enough to test their strength. And right now, they looked very interested in the lone human standing in their territory. The largest cub stepped forward. Its tail flicked through the grass like a whip. It bared its teeth and let out a low, rumbling growl. A clear attempt to intimidate. Lena blinked once. Then she sighed. "Oh, great," she muttered. The cubs expected fear. Every species they had encountered reacted the same way: panic, retreat, submission. But the human did none of those things. Instead, Lena slowly placed her scanner on the ground. Then she crossed her arms. "Well," she said calmly. The cubs froze. That was not the reaction they expected. The second cub hissed loudly and stomped forward, claws digging into the soil. It tried again. A louder snarl. More teeth. More menace. Lena tilted her head slightly. "Are you done?" she asked. The cubs glanced at each other. Confusion spread through their posture. The largest one tried something new. It lunged forward suddenly with a snapping roar. A classic intimidation charge. Lena didn't even flinch. Instead, she stepped forward, directly toward it. "Hey!" Her voice cracked across the jungle like thunder. The cub skidded to a stop, stunned. Lena pointed a finger directly at its nose. "Absolutely not." All 3 cubs blinked. The human continued speaking as if scolding unruly children. "I know that move. You puff up, show teeth, scare the prey. Guess what? I'm not prey." The cubs exchanged another glance. They had never seen anything like this. Normally, creatures ran. This one was lecturing them. The second cub tried again. It circled behind Lena and growled loudly. Lena turned slowly and gave it the exact same look human parents used on misbehaving kids. "Don't even think about it." The cub froze mid-step. Something about the human's tone triggered a deep instinct buried in its mind. Authority. Confidence. Control. The smallest cub finally spoke in rough trade tongue, its voice low and curious. "You not afraid?" Lena shrugged. "I mean, a little. You've got teeth the size of steak knives." The cubs tilted their heads. "What is steak knife?" one asked. "Never mind," Lena said quickly. The largest cub growled again, trying to regain dominance. "We are hunters," it declared proudly. Lena nodded slowly. "Yeah, I can see that." It puffed its chest. "You should run." Lena stared at it for a moment. Then she burst out laughing. The cubs flinched. "No offense," she said between laughs, "but you three look like teenagers trying to scare a raccoon." The insult hung in the air. The cubs clearly didn't understand the words, but they understood the tone. They had just been mocked. The largest cub snarled angrily and stepped closer. This time Lena moved fast. In one smooth motion, she grabbed a fallen branch from the ground and slammed it against a nearby rock. The loud crack echoed through the jungle. All three cubs jumped backward in surprise. Lena stepped forward again, raising the stick like a teacher pointing at a chalkboard. "Listen carefully," she said firmly. "You're big. You're scary. You've got claws." She pointed the stick at each of them. "But you're not the biggest predators in this jungle." The smallest cub frowned. "What bigger predator?" Lena leaned closer. "Your parents." The cubs stiffened instantly. "Exactly," Lena said. "And I guarantee, if they show up and see you three harassing visitors, you're the ones getting in trouble." The cubs looked uncertain, because that part was actually true. Virexian adults were extremely strict about territory behavior. The largest cub shifted its weight awkwardly. "We were testing you." Lena smirked. "Well, congratulations. Test failed." The cubs were about to respond when a deep sound rolled through the jungle. A roar. A massive shadow moved between the trees. The cubs instantly lowered their heads. Their alpha had arrived. The adult Virexian stepped into the clearing. It was enormous, twice the size of the cubs, covered in dark armored scales and long curved horns along its skull. Its golden eyes locked onto the human. The cubs waited for violence. They expected the alpha to attack the intruder. Instead, the giant predator looked at Lena, then at the cubs, then back at Lena. The alpha slowly lowered its massive head. In Virexian culture, that gesture meant recognition. "Respect?" Lena blinked. "Oh," she said softly. The alpha's deep voice rumbled in trade tongue. "You corrected them." Lena glanced at the cubs. "Yeah, sorry about that." The alpha snorted. "They needed it." The cubs looked shocked. The alpha continued. "You did not show fear. You did not show aggression. You showed control." It studied the human carefully. "That is how leaders behave." The cubs stared at Lena with new expressions. Not hostility, not curiosity, something closer to respect. The smallest cub spoke quietly. "Human strong." Lena smiled. "Not really," the alpha disagreed. "Strength is not only claws." The cubs lowered their heads slightly toward her. Lena scratched the back of her neck awkwardly. "Well, that's new." The alpha turned toward the jungle. "We'll leave now." The cubs began to follow, but before disappearing into the trees, the largest cub paused. It looked back at Lena. Then it dipped its head slightly. A small but clear gesture. Acknowledgement. Moments later the forest swallowed them all. Silence returned. Lena stood there for a long moment. Then she picked up her scanner. "Well," she said to herself, "that was weird." Back at the outpost later that evening, Lena submitted her report. When the alien researchers read it, one of them looked up in disbelief. "You disciplined 3 Virexian predator cubs." Lena shrugged casually. They were being rude. The scientists stared at her. "Humans are terrifying." Lena just smiled. Because somewhere out there in the jungle, Three young predators had learned a strange lesson that day. Not all strength came with claws. Sometimes, it came with confidence, and a human who refused to be intimidated